This more modern Paramount Pictures logo has 22 stars instead of the 24 it started off with, representing the 24 stars they had under contract when they were formed. Which means they basically erased the memory of 2 of those old stars without having to say which ones. Well, who was it, Paramount? Who did you boot? It was probably Mary Pickford, wasn't it, you assholes? Oh, and of course, 40 seconds of logos. The evil lair lighting planners really had a vision, didn't they? Single light for the guest, 5 spotlights for the panel, and mood lighting for the catwalk of appendages. Am I supposed to be this impressed by this group of murderers?
We'll all go bankrupt within a year.
If you know that the collapse of your panty line will result in bankruptcy 12 months out, you have 12 months to figure out a backup plan. Stop complaining, and as the great Gunn said, make it work.
The Malaysian must be eliminated, Mugatu.
Toxic fandom. 10 points to the person who can tell me who is speaking this line in this scene.
Perhaps you'd rather go back to churning out novelty neckties and heckin' sack.
That's right. No one was actually speaking in this scene.
It takes months to recruit and train an operative.
The movie will then go on to show us that it does not in fact take months to train someone. Also, the big idea here is that over the course of months, a male model is brainwashed to become a killer on command. Then that model is murdered by other trained murderers, and the whole thing is swept under the rug by influential fashion industry shadow cells with enough capital to keep this charade up for 200 years. And the movie is asking us to believe that their only option for a discreet assassination is to rush job a hitman?
Who can be manipulated and molded like Jell-O.
Or cookie dough.
Play-Doh.
Any kind of dough.
Any kind of dough? But Play-Doh isn't a dough. It's a dough, which is more like the Homer Simpson exclamation, dough! And also, what about the female deer, dough?
What's that look like?
Doing a full head whip while 3 people are actively prepping your face and hair. Adding an unnecessary U to color in your American advertising. And don't give me that L'Oreal is a European company bullshit. They're from France. They spell it Collier as if to say, F you, England. We're not only adding a U to the first O, we're throwing in an extra E in there as well. Suck on that, yeah, roast beefs.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Assuming I'm gentle.
welcome to the fashion industry's biggest night, the VH1 Fashion Awards.
Thinking you can pretend that a Viacom-owned event is fashion's biggest night without us seeing right through your synergistic fellatio.
And that's who Derek Zoolander is defending his title against tonight. Hansel.
I don't know if this qualifies as more disembodied newsposition or forced expositional narration, but I do know it qualifies as a sin. There's so much flashing going on in these scenes, I am confident that the movie is attempting to brainwash me into liking it.
Derek, are you worried about Hansel?
Not as much as I'm worried about Gretel.
Zoolander would be absolutely terrible at CinemaSins. But also, I know Gretel's the one that pushed the witch into the oven, but Hansel came up with the whole bonus finger gambit to fool her. So I think I'd be nervous about both of them. This is the VH1 Fashion Award event, and they stick their own reporter in the pit to battle for a star's attention. They're running the event. Put your people in private spaces and get the uninterrupted details.
Any comment on Prime Minister Hassan's wage increases for Malaysian garment workers?
Mugatu stops to not answer these questions instead of just ignoring them and continuing down the line. Ah, sudden baby Gwen Stefani. Oh, wait. No, that's just what she looks like today. Wait, how is she not aged? Is this proof Gwen is a vampire? Well, now that's just unfair. Hansel had a twin, and that is why he was able to book all those gigs and skyrocket his career.
For me, it's just the way I live my life. I grip it and I rip it.
Honestly, I'd prefer after someone grips it, they refrain from ripping it.
And the award goes to...
Wait, do they only nominate 2 people for Male Model of the Year? The VH1 Fashion Awards in 2000 nominated 4 people in the single non-gender specific category of Model of the Year. This movie continues to play fast and loose with reality, and we won't stand for it. Also, the VH1 Vogue Fashion Awards only lasted another year after this movie came out, so thanks a lot, Zoolander, for single-handedly killing the biggest night in fashion. Mila, Will, and the dog were directed to look somewhere for Derek, and we'll figure out where Derek actually is later, and it shows. Not being able to look into the future to know that blue screen is as effective as green screen, and this can now be turned into this, or this, or this!
I guess I have a lot of things to ponder.
Hey! The results are in, amigo! What's left to ponder?
Hansel heard this whispered question on a busy street from at least 20 feet away. Person walks through Times Square to ponder their sad privileged life cliche. Releasing a free hanging banner of this size in Times Square and thinking that's enough to completely secure it. And now I know I have Zoolander to blame for the open shelf kitchen trend. A trend that should die after a family dinner during flu season found me anxiously eating every bite of food off my unnecessarily exposed dinnerware.
Earth to Brent, I was making a joke.
Earth to Mikas, duh, okay. I knew that.
Earth to Brent, I'm not so sure you did.
Brent and Mikas would be excellent at CinemaSins YouTube comment battles. Also, holy shit, that's Alexander Skarsgård. This sin is for this being the only comedy he's done besides Battleship.
Orange Mocha Frappuccino!
Starbucks refused to actually give us an orange mocha frappuccino until 6 full years after this movie. Losers. Taco Bell would have been on that shit immediately. This entire gas fight leading to the explosion is not only one of the funniest things ever put on film, but it also subverts the audience's expectations that these characters would be sidekicks for the rest of the movie. I'm taking a sin off for this movie somehow being so smart while being so stupid. But also, this whole thing loses the carefree delight when you think about how it could actually happen. They're being observed by people who not only know how dangerous this is, but also want to live and would likely attempt to stop them. And before you say, oh, this was impromptu, they didn't have time to stop, you are wrong. To activate the nearby pumps to battle, they'd need to activate the pump with a credit card. There was time to stop them, but no one did. This is negligent homicide. Also, the premise that some people would actually do this because they are so dumb might be valid. But how would these guys ignore their instinct to protect themselves from the horrible smell and taste that is gasoline? If I get a tiny drop on my fingertip, I feel like I have to wash my entire hand. Because in the real world, work friends are buried side by side in magical plots that their families had purchased years ago after an oddly specific premonition. If the movie wants me to believe Hansel has arrived fashionably late, maybe don't show the overhead shot of the grave site where we can see there is no entrance behind the crowd, so he would have been there all along. Something you won't see in the New York City skyline during this movie are the two towers. This movie released 2 weeks after 9/11, and they made a decision to edit them out so as not to be a distraction. I guess the sin could be for not delaying the release altogether, but I'm just surprised there hasn't been another version released recently that edits out another problematic feature of New York City.
Derek?
Is Matilda surprised that Derek is here? She's been outside of the funeral waiting to perfect her reporter pounce the entire time. Zoolander is in angelic white giving a speech. How would his presence actually be surprising? Wearing a censor bar as a bra.
How could you have written those terrible things about me?
Look, Derek, my editor put that headline on it, okay?
Throwing your editor under the bus for your hit piece. I can hear the editors over my shoulder saying, guys, did you miss the balls models on screen earlier? Did you miss it? Here, let me keep it on the screen for 5 seconds so that you can laugh at how funny the word balls is. I don't even have to slow down the footage here. The editors thought it was that funny.
The other day, I was thinking about volunteering to help teach underprivileged children to learn how to read. And just thinking about it was the most rewarding experience I've ever had.
Replace thinking with tweeting, and the sin is the 21st century.
Look out! Tushy squeeze!
Treating anyone's ass like a bowling ball without proper wrist support and consent. Thinking Derek Zoolander would be able to pack everything into a single small carry-on and a garment bag. Do you know how much paraphernalia it takes to be really, really ridiculously good looking?
Damn it, Derek, I'm a coal miner, not a professional film and television actor.
Get it? Because he is a professional film and television actor. Do you get it?
My prostate's flaring up like a frickin' tiki torch. Give me a little pee-pee. Come on. A couple of drops.
Movie has time for piss.
Surprise!
Though this is not technically blackface, it's literally blackface, and it's making me extremely uncomfortable. Does anyone believe Zoolander would risk getting soot on his change of clothes? No, he would have cleaned up and then put on his sweater. We were robbed of a scene with Derek in a public restroom taking a sink shower. Let's see him over-exfoliate with slimy public pumice powdered lava soap and wrestle with creating a fluffy towel out of wafer-thin toilet paper. I swear movies use them so much for exposition, convenient bar television should unionize for better pay.
That my hair looks better done up with gel and mousse.
But your hair looks identical to your father's and brother's hair. Are they getting professional styling done as well? Also having Vince Vaughn in your movie and not letting him say a single word. But also having Vince Vaughn in your movie and not letting him say a single word.
You've been around for a long, long time and never wanted anything from me.
Is it possible to be so over the top that you somehow overact in this movie? I'm not sure, but hell if Will Ferrell isn't doing his darndest to find out.
What is this?
A center for ants!
But I'm still sinning you for not creating a Zoolander Center for Ants ant farm that I could buy for my office. Get it? Balls is funny!
What about Mugatu's exploitation of sweatshop workers in Malaysia?
Yeah, what about that? Buried in this movie, poking fun at dumb people wearing the clothes seems to be an actual thread of truth about the organizations behind the clothes. Do you think people left the theater considering where their clothing comes from? Or do you think they left wanting to do drugs, f***ing an orgy, and make little baby blue steels?
With a push-up bra, you could actually have a nice rack of lamb going on up there.
Ending this scene before she retorts interesting commentary on body parts from a man with no balls aside from his last name. Both of these clocks say 7:05. And yes, I know it's the same time in Frankfurt and Paris. So just make one single clock that's labeled Frankfurt Paris, you space-wasting, chronometer-addicted wall hogs. You might think it's impossible for Matilda to accidentally her way into a dangerously funded and highly secret brainwashing compound with no locked doors and zero security cameras because they should be more organized due to their hundreds of years of funding by powerful assholes. Of course, the same could be said about going to a church. So maybe this is all easier than it should be. Forgetting to glue the chin seams.
I thought you quit the business.
Exactly what about Derek's current situation would indicate that he is back in the modeling business? If anything, it would appear he is going for a specific ending to a specific type of illegal massage. Andy Dick is the dick trying to deck this ducking dick, and I'm the dick dictating my dictum that dicking around with this ducking decking is complete dreck. Whew, what a tongue twister. How's my diction? Movie makes its male gaze explicit while keeping its male gaze strictly implied.
Obey my dog!
The movie never follows through and delivers on the moment when the dog barks orders and Derek must obey. Watching Derek dry hump a fur coat to assert his dominance only to have the coat win and be worn would have fit right in with the rest of the humor in this movie. Been there. Bunk beds are the worst. I've also fallen off the top bunk while sleeping. Any common piece of furniture that has multiple ways to concuss you is worth a couple cents.
You have 1,200 messages.
My 90s Casio TA114 digital answering machine only holds 18 minutes of messages, so 1,200 would be less than a second each. Do your research, nerds.
Derek, what happened in that spa?
Great question. Something the police would surely be interested in knowing more about. And considering Matilda was ejected from the property within minutes of finding Derek, who would then go on to be missing for a week, I'm sure Matilda called the police to involve an organization that could legally return to the questionable establishment and investigate properly.
Do you mind?
Oh, come on. Look, I'm not saying some models aren't also good at styling and design, but they are two completely different skill sets. This would be like assuming an actor could also direct. Can you imagine? Staying in the orgy bed long enough after someone dies to be in the corner photos.
Wait a second.
What?
Compounding your zoom and enhance sin by indicating the ability of a 2001 computer to drag only the face from a picture for a side-by-side comparison.
Oh,
What's going on?
I gotta go.
What if, for once, a character said, "Run along with me so I can explain my concerns that, if ignored, could lead to someone's death? If I can do it, you can too." Winona Ryder, Paris Hilton, Billy Zane, this movie hands out cameos like a Marvel movie hands out poorly edited fight scenes.
Han Solo?
Why did he make a double-handed cow-milking gesture after calling him Han Solo? I mean, I guess this is a masturbation joke and a play on Han Solo, but then he used two hands. I'm just saying if there's a masturbation technique I don't know about, the movie's clarity has severely let me down.
Put a cork in it, Zane!
Speaking of putting corks in things, doesn't Derek have to pee? He was walking to the bathroom when Hansel bumped into him. Don't ignore your body, Derek. Just go pee and then get to the dance-off.
I believe I might be of service.
No one immediately faints, comes to, crawls to David's feet, begs for a discarded hair follicle, and cries themselves into a happy oblivion to be in Bowie's presence in this scene. Where the shit did this stuff come from? Do the beautiful people carry around a walk-off kit just in case this sort of event occurs? And if so, where do they keep the mask and incense and beauty paraphernalia? They're barely covered in clothing, let alone pockets or bags. The rules state that you have to mimic each other, and we start off with Derek unzipping his coat, but then Hansel doesn't even try to do this with his buttons. And does anyone take their own rules seriously anymore? These shitty tattoos.
Can't turn left.
Look, I don't have the time, patience, or work ethic to go back and check, but I'm giving a sin here for the many times earlier in this movie where I'm completely guessing you've already turned left, accepting delivery of your gravestone when there's already a crack in it.
Okay, that's impossible.
Oh, yeah? Listen and learn, sweetness.
Yes, because bringing someone to a candlelit graveyard and just telling them to listen to your suspicious conspiracy-sounding facts is enough to convince a journalist. Who needs proof when you have a winning personality?
I'll get it, man.
Oh, so now she's a ma'am, when before she was a sweetness. Is there any other way this movie wants to confuse us with who Matilda is meant to represent? She started off as a strong reporter and is quickly being shaved down to an arm ornament. Next, you'll tell me the movie ends with her as a mother holding Derek's child. Oh God! No!
And that's when I found out I was in line to assassinate Jimmy Carter.
So how'd you manage to escape?
That's an interesting follow-up question. I'd probably have started with something more like, who did you talk to about these horrible crimes all those years ago? Anyone in law? Why wait until now to come clean?
And most important of all, models don't think for themselves. They do as they're told.
That is not true.
Yes, it is, Derek.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
You'll find that he sold his soul to the devil for a shot at the big time.
But why male models?
There it is, arguably one of the best improv moments caught on film. What, did you miss it? Well, Stiller forgot his next line, so he just repeated the question.
But why male models?
Taylor and Duchovny didn't break character, and instead Duchovny volleys back.
You serious? I just told you that a moment ago.
So the sin here is that this is one of the funniest parts of the movie, and it wasn't even supposed to be part of the movie at all. Derek and Matilda run out of the tiny graveyard to their awaiting car. This should be an advantageous thing for the assassins, considering they know where Matilda and Derek will run. But nope, no one is waiting to pick them off. I know it seems like I'm wanting Derek and Matilda to die, but really I just want this movie to end so I can go back to researching why Epsom salt baths make me poop.
All right, we need a place to hide.
I will believe that Derek would skip right over the severity of being shot at, but Matilda should be shitting herself dry and beelining it to the police.
Ugh, I hate Hansel! Hansel! Everywhere I look, Hansel!
Right? It's almost like you're in a movie that is trying to hammer home its central character conflict and overdoing it by a tad. And by a tad, I mean a shit ton.
Were you looking for a rematch?
What a strange way to ask how the they knew his home address.
Yeah, you're Derek Zoolander. You know what it's like to be another model and
being Derek Zoolander's shadow?
I never thought it would be needed in a movie like this, but skip.
Why do you hate models, Matilda?
Honestly,
Yes.
I think they're vain, stupid, and incredibly self-centered.
What a coincidence! So does this movie.
I couldn't understand why I didn't look like them.
The movie tries to get serious about body image issues and even bulimia, and overall I dig it. We're already an hour into a movie that has not only proven we shouldn't take it seriously at all, but has not brought up this topic a single time until now.
It's been an emotional day for all of us. I think we should get naked.
This works. This awkward scene where the writers pull a look over there sex to distract us from their attempt at making fun of f***ing bulimia.
Turn off my phone.
This tiny phone thing is hilarious until you realize that we all basically do this with our tiny Bluetooth earbuds. Our phones are literally small enough to fit into our ear canal, and every last one of us looks like this asshole when we answer them.
If I can create a basic disguise for us, we may just be able to sneak into Maury's undetected.
Though this is not literally blackface, it's technically blackface, and that's making me extremely uncomfortable. Also, apparently the bustling office we saw earlier becomes a ghost town precisely at 6 p.m., with not even a single person working late enough to see these two strut in. Balls! Get it?
Now, once you get the info, I want you to email it to my office. Then I'll download the files, we'll rendezvous and take the information to the police.
Why are they communicating via short-range walkie-talkie? Is the Times writing room next door to Maury's office? What's the range on those tiny things?
Thanks, Derek. Now hurry up.
Okay.
I mean, why hurry when the clocks indicate that it's 7:17 p.m. Central Standard Time or 8:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? You're already f***ed, and showing us a clock in the immediate next scene set to 6:30 p.m. to trick me into thinking we still have time isn't going to diffuse my frustration with the botched timeline.
Hey, I finally got the results on the name check you asked for on Jacobin Mugatu.
Just now, past normal work hours, got results that include a file folder presentation with a headshot? Were these files mailed to you, or you just now opened them, or did you print them in full color to stick it to the corporate ink budget? What is the suddenly all coming together after work hours walkie-talkie scene?
Because I'm a hot little potato right now.
I think this is meant to be threatening, but hot little potatoes are delicious, and Mugatu's hair is really looking like sour cream swirls. I'm hungry. When will this movie end? These two monkey around with this computer for about a full minute, 35% of which is hilarious, 25% of which goes on for too long, and 40% of which is me cringing that Ben Stiller still has a black neck and hands. You know, for a bar that seems to hate fashion shows, they really are committed to keeping the television confidently fixed on this channel. Is the movie asking the viewer to believe that the deeper story here is that Derek's father actually supports him, but pushes Derek away so he will leave the dead-end town and make a name for himself in the big city? Where's that movie?
Guys, what's happening?
She left the imbeciles to their own devices for something like 15 minutes? How is she not having them walk her through every thought they have, and why didn't she go herself? Whether intentional or unintentional, I now believe Matilda just to be dumb. Her dumb plan to steal files is handed to dumb people who dumb luck their way to a dumb ending. Dumb!
You gotta find them and meet me at the show.
Roger.
I know we're supposed to think these guys are idiots, but how does he mistake her name for Roger?
Just cut up a couple of cantaloupe halves with some cottage cheese if you're hungry.
Movie has time for a snack break that's only purpose is to rouse Matilda to anger about relaxing.
The last thing I need to do right now is relax.
That's it.
Was there a list of ways that Matilda could have realized that the song Relax is the trigger song? Well, I'd like to see that list because Matilda mad at snack seems like the literal stupidest option. And I'm having a hard time believing all the creative people involved in this movie just didn't want to try something more interesting than anger at a goddamn cottage cheese-filled cantaloupe. Or, here's a brave idea, let the investigative journalist poke around and discover the playlist for the event. You know, evidence!
I know it was you, and it breaks my heart.
Derek, I don't know what you're talking. Derek, I'm sorry.
Well, that confessionally charged apology happened alarmingly fast. Can someone tell me why the Malaysian Prime Minister would even attend a fashion show in the midst of calling out child labor in his own country that impacts the industry? What's the upside here? Maybe it's wrong of me to come up with a better plan, considering someone's life is on the line here, but wouldn't the brainwashing bit be more efficient if the song was already cued? There doesn't need to be this much of a build-up to getting the song ready. This killer DJ is terrible at having the hits ready.
Just do it already.
But you're the one who brainwashed him. Maybe next time, instead of brainwashing for comedy's sake, brainwash as if you actually want the job to be done. Ansel, a man unable to comprehend buttons on a computer, drops in on a DJ and locates the exact fader that controls the live feed.
They're breakdance fighting.
The movie had to explain this to us because our brains can't believe the dumbness that is unraveling before us. Ansel continues to use the crossfade instead of just breaking the relax record and ending it now. Here's a confusing moment when a well-trained assassin has a gun aimed at Zoolander rather than the Prime Minister, which only confuses the focus of the plot even more. We were told at the beginning that our main concern was the panty prices falling, so shoot the man and save your stock. What are we doing here? Any yo-yo with a string this long ceases to be able to functionally yo on a day-to-day basis. Let's pretend we're in this scene. We're at a fashion show and the main model is currently restrained by 2 guards after a failed murder attempt, and 2 women are on the catwalk fighting over a gun. Why would anyone remain politely seated to hear people talk about motivations? Everyone would be and should be running to the doors to get their asses to safety.
I got 2 words for you, sugar. Zip disk.
Zip disk! Remember those? A little history lesson on why this zip disk is a big win for Maury. See, a long time ago there was no cloud, and server storage the size of a city was just a dream. Digital files were stored on archaic physical disks. Here, let me show this to you. You know this as a save icon, but before it was an image mindlessly pressed without a thought of its own gig size, zip disks were a real tangible gift of the tech gods to computer nerds everywhere. The only thing it couldn't save was itself from its own impending irrelevance.
Die, you wage-hiking scum!
Listen, if the 2 bodyguards can't be bothered to intervene when Zoolander was taking his time to murder, or when someone has a f***ing gun on the catwalk, or as Mugatu monologues, then why should I care about what happens anymore? Deus ex magnamina. Leaving the gun with someone actively trying to kill you and then turning to walk away as if the danger is over.
Our diverse faculty includes business management teacher and former model agent Maury Ballstein,
who apparently didn't serve much time for his role in multiple murders. Ah, yes, here we are at the end of the movie feeling all the good feelings because Zoolander has his dumb school, the baddest guys were caught, the somewhat bad guy has a new job as a teacher, and the goodest guys get to go on and live their happy dumb lives. I guess we just forgot about the shadow-cloaked figures pulling all the strings at the beginning of the movie that hired Mugatu in the first place? How am I supposed to sleep at night knowing that they're still out there and might produce an unnecessary sequel 15 years later? Wait, what?
Melvin. I think his headband's too tight.
Derek's chances tonight.
Let me tell you something. Nobody can touch Derek. Nobody! Serenity now!
Nobody likes you.
Not listening.
You're a liar.
Can't you even pretend to be happy to see me, Pop?
If we stand perfectly still, it won't see us.
What about Mugatu's exploitation of sweatshop workers in Malaysia?
Please tell me you did not think sweatshops are where they make sweatpants.
Let's get this model on his way.
Make it work.
What kind of spa is this?
Big, bada big boom.
With your complexion, you really shouldn't be wearing your hair pulled back that tight.
What are you talking about?
Can you relax your triangle of sadness?
I heard some mad stories about this kid, man. He's limber. He's too limber.
Put a cork in it, Zane.
You will honor me.
The theme is sort of Fragonard, Madame de Pompadour meets 21st century rock star / Williamsburg Hasidic gentleman.
You guys really want to know the truth?
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth!
I'm really super psyched for the show.
Me, Fifth Element, Supreme Being.